Two of them?
Okay.
What is this?
All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first ever crossover episode of Dr. 3 and Bread and Butter. My name is Tito Santana. I am not your host. I am just one of 5 people here ready to talk to you about this beautiful game we call Hearthstone. I'd like to introduce you to my partner, Doc McButt from Bread and Butter. Doc, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty okay. Just had a lot of fun playing Smarms. It was a good time. Smarms, how are you?
Oh, just so many thoughts after those games. By that, I mean, I'm brain dead. So, it's so good. And I'm here with my amazing Dr. 3 co-hosts, which is Dragon Rider and Kat, who are above me, which you guys can't see in this audio platform, but they'll say hi, I guess.
Hi.
Yes, that's okay. That's okay. But yes, hello, everyone. I'm Dragon Rider from Dr. 3. And yeah, we did just do a cool show match that was streamed on Twitch versus Smarms and Doc McButt. And the other 3 of us got to cast that. So very fun, very, very fun time. It was great to see you 2 play against each other. And I would love to talk about the fact that neither of you have hit Legend yet, correct? You're both still kind of growing, pushing towards that.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to get to see that because I think we talked a little bit about that might have been a misplay or misordered things. But, also Tito mentioned after we did, after the match wrapped up and we brought that up that, both of our podcasts do kind of help focus on growing, learning, getting better at the game. So I feel like it was actually a perfect thing. But our last host that we do have to introduce is the lovely Kat. Kat, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Thank you. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that match. It was cool. I feel like my predictions came true. So
Can't wait.
Doc. I'm sorry, Doc. I was worried about the Murloc Shaman.
It's okay. I knew it was bad.
Murloc Shaman's so much fun, though. I simp
Exactly.
hardcore for Murloc Shaman. So I also,
If you would have told me...
Go.
I was going to say, if you told me someone was bringing Murloc Shaman, I assumed it would have been Smarms.
Yeah, fair enough. I can't wait to go back and listen to all your guys' advice, talking about how Doc and I haven't hit Legend yet. And it's what all things did we miss on this great playing? And,
keep in mind, too, that we are not expert casters either, except for Dawn. She is
Yeah, exactly. Dawn is an expert caster.
Dawn's a freaking pro, and I trust Kat's advice so much. So, I'm so excited to hear both of their... Tito, yours remains to be seen.
Yeah, well, just whatever Tito said, be like, oh, okay, he said that. I say that out of love, Tito.
No, I know. Well, I think we did okay. It
was good.
I like the way the whole concept of this came together because the original plan was we have the event that we announced tonight on the 22nd, which is the WikiGood Sidisi matchup. And it was my idea, and I was rolling with it, and I'm like, boy, I don't know what the hell I'm doing on a lot of these things, so I need to find a partner in crime. And I reached out to Dragon Rider, and I was like, hey, Donnie, buddy, what you doing? How'd you like to help me out? And I told her about the project, and she was like, this sounds like a lot of fun, and she jumped on, and we're both using, I think, our skill sets in tandem in a great way. And I'm like, hey, we need to do a practice match before any of this so we work out any kinks, because it's all magic to me how we get these the show match together. So he said, how about we just do a show match? I said, how about we do a show match versus Doc and Smarms? That'd be kind of fun, because I thought that 2 of you guys would, just be, you're our friends, we're part of the same communities, let's do it. And then Smarms joined Dr. 3, so it then became a show match. So we were like, oh, why don't we just pull in Kat and make it a full-on show match and do a crossover episode. I believe that was Dawn's idea there. So it just kind of naturally evolved, and I thought that was it was so much fun, and yeah.
Really was. It really was.
Mm-hmm. I had a good time.
Absolutely. Well, okay. I think I would love to do a reverse interview, I guess, so a dual interview. I think if those ladies of us from Doctor 3 interview you two about your show, and then you two can interview us about ours. We can, get that out to our, I'm going to just say crossover audiences, but I'm sure there's some overlap in our audiences. But, for people who might not be familiar with you, you both are kind of, I would say, in a bit of a newer podcast that's kind of been around. You've been around for a little bit, but it's been more recent than some of the other podcasts. So, Doc and Tito, can you tell us about Bread and Butter?
Sure, Doc, would you like to start?
Yeah. So the idea for Bread and Butter, so I've wanted to be a part of a Hearthstone podcast for a while, but it's such a saturated community. I didn't know how to break into it. So finally, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I just want to do this. And Tito and I had played in THL for a season or two together, and we've been chatting back and forth in the Blizzlet Discord and everything. And so I asked Tito if he wanted to do, it was originally a Blizzlet / Squelch fan podcast. And then the idea kind of evolved from there into what Bread and Butter is today.
Yeah, the thing I wanted to do was, like Doc said, this is a very saturated market. So how do you find a voice in this forest? And what I thought was there's not a lot of podcasts out there that focus on education. There are podcasts that, Coin Concede is fantastic. Every once in a while, they're going to say, hey, this is a topic we're going to talk about. But they're also news and they're esports and all that. And I said, there's not one that focuses on just how to get better at the game from a very basic fundamental level. And I kind of ran that by Doc, and he liked it, and it just ran from there. So how about Doctor 3? How did this start, and how did this evolve to what it is today?
Cat question.
Once we figure out which direction
I know,
to point,
it's
that's always the worst with cameras.
It's like semaphore, and I don't know if you guys. Okay, I know I make this joke all the time. No one ever gets it because it's from a Monty Python skit from the 60s, and it's they do Wuthering Heights and semaphore. So it's oh, Heathcliff, semaphore. That thing that you use to talk to people on aircraft carriers. Really important, guys. Sorry. Anyways,
Okay.
Going back to Cat.
Oh, when you said semaphore, I'm thinking program when you have to when you have one person going in a tunnel and then the other person comes in the tunnel and you have to have red light, green light. So I'm thinking that semaphore. You're talking about semaphore with the flags. I got it. So now we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, so yes, I'm Kat. I started Doctor 3 back in 2019 now, so we've been going for 3 solid years. We just put out episode 185, so we're rapidly approaching episode 200. It was Mage Death and Nikolaius and myself at that point in time. Then Nikolaius left somewhere in the 40s or 50s. We replaced him with Deliver. Deliver left probably 15, 20 episodes later. And then we got Dragon Rider. And Dragon Rider came in towards the end of the 60s. So she's been around on Doctor 3 for at least 100 episodes now. Probably more like 120 now, saying that out loud. And then, unfortunately, Mage decided to depart from the podcast, and now we have Smarms, and we're the ladies of Doctor 3, and we kind of focus on growing how you climb the standard ranked ladder, as I say, on a weekly basis. So we aim at improving your game on the ladder, but we also talk news and we talk tournaments, and our topics vary from week to week, but yeah, so that's kind of our thing.
Now we're catching right up to you. We have a lot of episodes as well. We just had our 10th.
10 double digits.
I mean, yeah, the double digits is
I feel that's success.
Yeah. It's
So-
been a journey to get there.
So one thing I've always been curious about: how did you come up with the name Doctor Three? I know, is it just a derivative of Doctor Boom with three people, or is there something more to it than that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it is, and people used to call Dr. Boom Dr. 7. So we were Dr. 3 because we had 3 people in the cast, and that's why we aim to remain a 3-person cast. So we can always be Dr. 3.
Otherwise, every title we're gonna have to add +1, and then the rest of the title.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that you guys are Doctor Three, yet my podcast is the only one with somebody named Doctor in it.
Yeah.
That's fair. We do not have a doctor on the podcast.
That's true. I'm not smart enough for that. I don't know.
I mean-
there's doctors in the community too, and I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
I ain't smart enough for
Miki,
that
I am
either.
not.
I was gonna say his name's Dr. McButt. Like, Doc, love you.
Yeah.
I think you're great, but McButt really like reduces down that
Yeah.
part quite a bit.
I actually asked him initially because I said, Doc, we're about to start getting into content creation. Would you like to rebrand now? And he said, no, my guy, I'm good.
Yeah, I've had Doc McButt has been
Best answer.
my name since for almost 9 years.
And do you want to tell the story of why that is your name?
Yeah, I guess I can. So, my dad got me a laptop for college, and he's like, "Pick one, I'll buy it for you." I showed my friends who knew PCs. It was a gaming laptop, so that was my first step into PC gaming, and I had to make a high res account because I wanted to play Smite with some of my friends. And my girlfriend at the time, her nieces watched a lot of Doc McStuffins. And being the mature 19-year-old that I was like, Doc McPoop, just wanted to, I don't know. And then eventually I was like, nah, Doc McButt, and I just kept it. But yeah, so it's Doc McStuffins inspired because of a 8-year-old and a 5-year-old.
And before Bread and Butter, you had a previous podcast. What was that about?
Oh my, no. Yeah, there's a
No.
there's a 2-episode project that I did while I was couch surfing, called The Weekly Wipe, and it's not great. Please don't find it. It still exists, but please don't find it.
No, too late.
Doc, I
You
wouldn't
told
be
us the
asking you-
name.
Yep, I wouldn't be asking you these questions had you won the match tonight.
Oh.
Damn.
No, how dare you turn on your team? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
You gotta ride or
we we just have to work on our fundamentals a little more. Nah, it was a beautiful match.
Oh.
So this
It
is
was a
like
beautiful
random,
match.
and I'm
It was.
transitioning everything, and this is just purely for my own curiosity. Doc, how close have you been to Legend? Because I know neither one of us has hit it, but
So the closest I've ever hit was in the old ladder system at rank 1, 0 stars.
I don't know what that means. So
So
great.
there used to, it was what? There was no rank
stars.
floors, or was it only,
There
was it every 5 or
wait-
every 10?
every 5, yeah. And there was the last ones were 5 stars apiece. So 5 through 1 were 5 stars. So you had to win 5 games to get to the next rank. So, and that was 4 stars for I think 6 through 10,
Yep.
and then 3 stars at 25 to 15 maybe. I don't remember
Yeah, it was
exactly. It's
it was a
been-
long
And
time
no
ago.
star
gonna
bonus.
say,
You didn't
when
have
did they-
star bonus. Everybody started. It was rank 25
Yep.
through 1, and everybody
Yeah.
just was pooled together. You didn't have a star bonus and be paired against.
And
So you
people with the
could
same star
theoretically
bonus.
play against Bunny Hopper and stuff like that if you happen to queue at the right specific time.
And you did not have rank floors for the longest time. So you could get up to
Yep.
rank 2 and then fall all the way back down to rank 25 if you went on tilt hard enough.
that's what I'm so good at. So how long ago was that?
How long ago was that? Oh God, that was. It's got to be
that was Ashes
4 or
Outland when
5?
they switched over, right? They switched over the rank system.
So yeah,
Ashes, right?
like
Yeah.
3.5, 4 years ago at this point.
3 years.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
4 sounds right. Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
But Doc, I want to say, like, I know I saw you were talking about some Rogue today in Discord, and you were thinking about transitioning to Rogue from the Hunter, and interesting. I'm like, oh, Doc, maybe Doc's struggling with Hunter. Maybe we figure it out. He's like, he posts the stats. He's got like a 65% win rate. Like, Doc, stay with the Hunter and grind it out.
Can I give you the more accurate numbers since then?
Sure.
So I've played 66 games with Spitter Hunter, and I have a 67% win rate with it.
Stay with the Hunter. It's the right until they nerf it. Run it. Run it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's what I'm gonna play.
Ride it.
I haven't played standard this month until today because I'm bad at things. So
Don't do me like that, Smarms. Don't say that.
It wasn't meant as an insult. I've had a very fucking busy week. This was more about my bad.
I get you. I'm playing.
I should have, I definitely meant to practice, and it was definitely on my to-do list. I can show you my planner where it's practice. And so it's more I'm bad at doing things. So with how well that worked, I'm gonna be running that all the time because something that I can make mistakes with and still do okay. That's all I want out of Hearthstone.
Yeah, no, Shockspitter Hunter I think it's the only tier 1 deck right now. It is very solid, it is very forgiving, and it handles most matchups really well. You have some issues with say Freeze, DH, and a couple others, but it is a good deck to climb with right now. And one of the things that we've talked about on Bread and Butter is I know sometimes playing the same deck can get boring if you grind a lot of games, but if your plan is to climb, it is a good deck to learn the matchups. It's very consistent, and the more you play with the same deck, especially if you're winning at a 67% win rate, you keep jamming them, you're gonna get there. That's just how you're gonna do it.
It just feels so boring, to be perfectly honest. And I'm close to a floor, so it's I'm close to a floor. I might as well try to experiment, but also I want to get out of the 6-7 star bonus range because it's miserable. Going from gold 5 onward without having any star bonus is absolute torture.
Yeah, and I just, for the first time in a while, I didn't make Legend in December. And that felt bad because I had 9 stars, and just climbing from 9 stars was kind of a slog. So I just stuck with that Hunter. And actually, so what happened was I had a coaching schedule, ridiculous hat, and that got pushed to January 2nd. I think it got pushed to January 2nd because of scheduling. And so we did with him, and I had already made up the Quest Demon Hunter list to work with. And he's like, yeah, we could play that. But if you're looking to figure, because I've had the yips, I couldn't figure out how what was going wrong. There's a hole in my game. I'm in my own head, and he's like, yeah, if that's the problem, play the Hunter. The Hunter is the deck to play. I was like, all right. So we did a coaching with Hunter, and as we're playing, I'm like, hey, does it matter if I put my guy here and a guy there? He's like, if you're worried about positioning in these decks right now, you are in your own head. Just play the deck, you'll be fine. And we went 6-0, and then the next day I went 3-11. And I was like, okay, that's how it usually happens. You play with somebody that knows what they're doing, you do really well, and then you go on, play by yourself, and things don't go well. But I stuck with it, and then I eventually figured it out and kept rolling, and I rolled all the way to Legend a couple days ago. So I can definitely attest that right now, before the nerfs, play the Shockspitter Hunter if your goal is to.
So Smarms, how close have you been to Legend, or what has been your highest standard rank?
Within one game.
Oh,
one game. One singular
you got to final boss
game. And here's the other thing.
She doesn't sound bitter about that at all.
Yeah, I know. And it was right as the Castle Denathrius. Yeah, that's the right words probably. Expansion was coming out, so I was rocking Murloc Shaman, and because I was flying in that week, I didn't have enough time to play more Murloc Shaman before that came out, and therefore haven't hit Legend. And I'm bad at Denathrius. There was something about that where it's like, this is too long of games. I don't have the attention span for this. And so I haven't been as close since then. But yeah, it was just one game. Hoping with these, like, you know, with everything going back to the way it, like the faster kind of games and decks doing well, I'm hoping that maybe I'll get closer and closer.
So are you rocking 9 stars right now on your bonus, or?
I have no clue because I haven't won a game of standard yet. So that's the only way I know.
Where did you finish last month?
I think like Diamond 5? Yeah.
Okay. So
That
you
should be
probably
9.
got
Yeah, that's 9.
yeah.
Okay. I'm not actually sure if I made it to Diamond 5. Last month it was like a lot of days ago. So we're just
Yeah. From what I understand, you've had a couple weeks, so I definitely appreciate you being here tonight, for sure.
yeah. Do we want to talk about the games? I don't know.
Yeah, let's talk about the game. So the first matchup was, and we don't have the replays in front of us, but the first matchup was a Hunter versus Mage. I had predicted that it was going to be a Hunter versus Hunter matchup, but I should have trusted that you would have picked Mage first if I would have thought about it, because you are the queen of the Bone Zone, and the Mage is your.
Gotta
like,
get those Skelly boys out.
And I really liked it because I'm like, well, if there's a deck that Smarms knows, it is the Bone Zone Mage, and that's, you want to get that first win. And Doc, you got that first win.
I was gonna say, and then I didn't. So
yeah, you actually you played really well in that matchup. I thought, and we kind of we were worried about Doc for a while, that we thought that you were going to lose that matchup pretty early on. And then Smarms, you just ran out of gas at the end there.
yeah.
Doc, what did you think about that first game with the Hunter?
It was really close. Turn 3, I missed the attack with my Spirit Poacher, and I thought that was going to lose me the game, to be perfectly honest, because like with this deck, like that early chip damage is so important if you're going to finish with like Shock Spitters if you don't get too many weapon swings. And I definitely didn't get a lot of weapon swings because I was frozen for like 3/4 of that game.
And that was an error
we
harped
definitely
on.
talked
we
about
talked about
that.
that because
Yeah.
you needed to clear, like you had the opportunity to clear the Frost guys before and get those weapon swings in, and we thought that was going to be your downfall because you didn't clear those and you got frozen like 3 times in a row. That 1/1 did work.
Yes,
And,
it did.
I also thought you got a little luck. I thought your mulligan choice of throwing the Spirit Poacher back in the deck off the I saw you do that. I was like, no, Doc, keep that guy, please. But
Yeah, I can't tell you the mulligan choice right there off the top of my head. I'll have to go back and look, but
He's like, how were you deciding mulligan choices? Because mine is like, sure, this looks good.
Yeah, just instinct.
yeah, it kind of just depends. Like I've played like 66 games with it, but it's, for some reason I have like a hard time like articulating specifically like how I think about it. But with going against a mage, I was wanting to be like really aggressive, but I forget what I was looking for, but I just tossed the Spirit Poacher back, and I think I can't remember what the rest of the mulligan was, but I didn't really like the hand. Like I should have probably kept the Spirit Poacher technically, but I didn't like the rest of my mulligan.
I say it doesn't
And
matter.
then-
You still kicked my butt.
I mean,
with that.
yes.
no, he didn't kick your butt. He squeaked out the win. He
Yeah.
won,
Yeah.
but he did not kick your
It was
ass.
a close game.
It was a
Yeah.
very close game that you almost pulled out of nowhere. One of the things we've talked about on the show, I think both shows before, is like the more you play with the deck, like you want to think about the matchups, and a good question to ask yourself when you're mulliganing is, what do I think this person is? Is it a rogue, or take the rogue out of the equation if it's something else? But like, how do I win this game, and how do they win this game, and how do I stop it? So if you think about those things initially, especially like, it's hard to do that against something like a demon hunt, a death knight right now, because they can go frost, they can go unholy. You've seen a bunch of different things, but if you're seeing something like a mage, like right now you're seeing a lot of aggro mage, right? So how do I win this matchup? What do I need to do? And like, right, like, it's, and a lot of times your mulligans are going to be the same across across the board, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, like, one thing you could think about is if I'm playing a shaman, if it's a potentially an evolved shaman, maybe in that matchup I keep the spotters. I don't think you were playing spotters, but keep the spotters and the what do you call it? The 1/1 weapon that you're immune for, because
I was playing Kenai Spotter.
Okay.
I just didn't draw it.
Okay, because like in that particular matchup, if like somebody drops down the knoll and you're staring down a 12/12 on turn 4, the ability to drop a spotter and the candle shot, that might be something to think about in that particular matchup. But yeah, think about how you're going to win and how they're going to win, and that might help you pick your choices in the mulligan. And also, you can use HS Replay. Who will be sponsoring
and
the
talking
matchup?
about that too, I'm kind of curious to hear from that other side of the first game, talking about like matchups and thinking about win conditions. So Smarms, how were you approaching the like mage? Now you both played mage. I will just preface this for anybody who didn't see it. 2 different versions of mage though. Doc brought a big spell mage, and Smarms, you were applying like that kind of spell damage focused, kill him with arcane bolts type of mage. What was your approach against the hunter? Like, were you thinking, I just need to build up all this damage? You wanted to freeze them? Because I do think that, trying to find some of those freezes did help you, but, you ended up, I do feel like you kind of got a little bit lucky with the Discover and finding a clear for Doc's 2/4 taunt that would have stopped those little minions from getting to his face initially. So what was your approach with that matchup?
You're about to be so disappointed right now. First of all, keeping that 1/1 was like a whim that ended up working out kind of great. Surprisingly so, now recognizing how much Shock Spitter needs the attacky thing, the hero attack. There we go. And so I think my main thing was like knowing how fast Hunter can go, just trying to go a little bit faster was the only goal there. So like I know I kept some minions on board that I was like unsure of what I should be doing with them. But ultimately I thought, because I don't have those big plays at the end with something like that I just needed to use whatever damage I had to go face as much as I could. That's literally the only thoughts.
Yeah, and you basically, if you would have found Thalnos or Aegwynn earlier, there would have been probably enough to get there. And Doc, you made the really insightful play of going Devil Astalor on turn 8 and getting that armor, keeping you alive.
That armor was such a pain. I was so irritated.
Yeah, because I can't remember if I Tavished first or if I Tavished after that. But once
it was the turn after, right?
Okay.
Yeah, you did you drew 2 additional cards from the shot.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that's where you got Tavish, and that's like, well, that was pretty much the game at that point in time.
I mean, that was my singular out, because otherwise I wasn't gonna survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
So
Swarms had lethal at that point. If you didn't, we were like, Doc has to Astalor here, and you did, thankfully, because I'm like, Smart has lethal. This is not good.
Sometimes I can count to 30. I promise.
I can't. I promise you I can. I accidentally bad manners kill all the time just because I'm like, oh my god, there's so much to do. There's so many things that I need to clear. And it's like, no, I could have just hit them in the face and like been done with it. But oops. So way to show off your counting skills, I guess. Wow, I know numbers.
So let's move on to game 2. That was our matchup of Mage versus Shaman. This was what are our thoughts on this game here?
I played the Shaman. Okay, yeah. I guess that was.
Yeah, you played your Evolved Shaman.
You don't know how close I was before that, like, 4th game about having to ask, like, hey, which deck do I need to play, guys? I have no brains. Okay. So sorry, Doc, you were gonna say about your mage.
oh, I just felt like I mulliganed, but then even like every card I drew was just not what I needed. I had the 3/4 that gave me the armor, but like that wasn't enough. And then I might be getting the other mage game confused, but there was one point I played the 6/7 taunt and hoping to get a cheap 9-mana spell, and then you didn't have a spell in your hand, and it made me cry.
Well, I think
Really?
that you waited a turn on that.
That was the
right?
last game.
Okay.
Was that the
Yeah,
last game?
yeah.
I'm gonna get them confused. Too.
Yeah. Now, I'm struggling to remember exactly what happened. I remember Smarms was building the board. She got you got the watch post down at some point, and she farsighted into the Frostpaw Caverns.
Yeah.
And so she'd got down the initially she'd gotten down the knoll.
Yep.
And it transformed into the Stone Skin General. Mm-hmm. And you had frozen it. You'd gotten it down to 2 life. And then she, with a board full of stuff, she played Primordial Wave, which was honestly the winning play. And some people might have waited. I was like, I may have waited on that evolve.
had
So
a
that was a
death
very
route,
nice
right?
play.
Right.
Yep. Someone
Yeah.
an 8/8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really great when you don't pay attention to those things because you accidentally get something better a lot of the time. But like my whole thing is like, I guess it wouldn't have mattered if it would have died because I still would have gotten the thing. My thinking is like, I don't want this going off the board, so I'm just gonna try to evolve as quickly as possible. You also had something irritating out, I think, was the other issue and why I waved then. But I don't remember what it was.
I 0 hero powered froze, and then location froze, and then
Oh yeah.
maybe the following turn I Vardened. That might be the second game though.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I know at one point I was able to freeze Varden and do 4 damage, even though I misunderstood Varden and thought it destroyed and not that it just dealt 4.
Oh yeah.
So
Almost
That was after she evolved, because it was the Frost. I never remember its name. The 8/8 with Wind Fury.
Yeah.
You brought that down to 2 as well, and that's what came back to kill you when Smarms drew. She drew Blood Fury or Bloodlust. Top deck Bloodlust.
Top decking that was like chef's kiss. Like loved it.
It was basically there was, because he played the 2/5/6 with taunt, and it was like, well, if it wasn't Bloodlust, that would have been, you wouldn't have been dead. You would have been hurting a bit more, but with just the Bloodlust, it's 22 damage, and you were at 26. So
yeah, we started talking through the math of like, okay, how does Smarms win this? It goes 2/4 Bloodlust. Who cares? Go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't even bother. I was like,
How
no.
I felt. It's like, okay, I'm gonna have to like optimize and like what can I do to make sure that like I'm maintaining as many things out on board, and then it's like, oh, this doesn't matter.
Well, 11 attack on a Wind Fury minion is
Yeah, that's
pretty
absurd.
good.
yeah,
That Wind Fury,
damage.
so
Yeah.
lucky, so lucky.
So, well, I mean,
You were fortunate with your evolves. You got very good evolves.
and I will say, I noted at the beginning before we were reviewing the decks that the Shaman was a good pick for you because you are an agent of chaos. And
It is
And-
my favorite.
Evolve Shaman is very much a chaotic type deck. You never
Yeah.
know what you're going to get.
Which is the only sad thing about playing like a more like arcane mage rather than like the giant spell mage of like not having the what's that 9
the
mana?
RNG.
The
Oh
rune
yeah,
of
yeah.
the
Rune of the
Archmage.
Archmage.
Like,
I love
just
that
casting
spell
random stuff.
so much. I love it so much. It is my favorite thing that's ever existed. That and Deck of Lunacy. Those are
Deck Lunacy was really good.
baller.
You would have loved old school Yogg Saran. Because that card, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Smarms, but
No.
for every spell you play spells, you play a lot of spells, and then when you play it was a 10 mana 6/6 I think, but
7/5.
7/5. For every spell you've cast that game, cast a random spell. Target's chosen randomly.
Yeah, and it used to not go off when it died, and then they nerfed it, and then they reverted the nerf.
Honestly, that does sound like it would have been
It was
fun.
a lot.
Is that something you can play in Wild? Because that.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Now I've got plans.
Yeah, no, it's definitely
Yeah,
different.
there you go.
So does anybody else have any other?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Jade Golem is the one and only thing that I will play in Wild. Like, I never play Wild. I don't understand Wild. You know, I haven't been at Hearthstone, like, nearly long enough. But Jade Golems and, like, how goofy you can get with them, like, I live for that. So, at least I now have another Wild option.
Nice. So, does anybody have any other thoughts on the second game before we move on to game number 3?
Nope.
All right, so game number 3 was Murloc Shaman versus Spit Hunter. So Doc,
Oh no.
why did you choose to bring Murloc Shaman when you by your own admission said it's not a good deck?
Because it's fun. Because it can pop off really, really hard. You just have to have Tidecaller into Tidepool Hunter into War Leader, or even like Tidecaller into the Murloc that gives them +2 attack or +1 attack and rush into Tidehunter.
Lushwater Scout.
Yeah.
Lushwater
Yeah.
Scout.
And you can just get really big attack, and then you play Cold Light Oracle, get them health, play the Fin spell. I forget what it's actually called.
Anything can happen.
Yeah, play that, and then boom, you have big Murlocs. Like, it's just... And I've never actually played that game with drawing Bloodlust with Murloc Shaman. I've always just won through attrition. But it's fun.
It's no fin can stop us. Yeah. Okay, there we
Yeah.
go. Sorry.
No,
One
you're
of those
good.
one of those puns.
It's just fun, and like I love Murlocs, and like Murloc Shaman is the only close to viable Murloc deck right now. And so I just wanted to bring my little fishy froggy boys.
And honestly, like, with a game, like, where it's, you know, like, it could have had a chance of popping off because, like, you're not trying to, like, get higher in ladder with Murloc Shaman. If it had popped off in the right way, it is totally, like, viable in that way, I feel like.
Yeah. You needed to draw some clownfish, and you didn't. You get those clownfish going
Yeah.
early, and you get your discounts. You get that, and otherwise you're going to run out of steam, and that's kind of, I think, what happened in this matchup,
Yeah.
especially
Believe
against
me,
such
I
a...
mulliganed for it. I was fishing.
And Smarms had the early game too. Even though even though you weren't going to play any spells, like the fact that she still had the Iron Deep Trog on one,
Yep.
into the Spirit Poacher, into the Coin Ram,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden Selective Breeder into Hydrolodon, and that was just, she took you off the board, and there was just no coming back. And then the turn she played it, she got that she top decked the Swarming,
The devouring swarm.
Devouring
Swarm.
Swarm, yeah. And then I was like, that's the draw. That's the draw, and it just paid off, and she was able to clear up enough, and then just Selective Breeder.
Here's the thing, is with that game, I was so worried that choosing the Hydrolodon over the Shock Spitter was like the bad move of me just loving my big minions at all costs. And so it's like, yes,
No.
Colossal. Like, I know I should be like smart and play it like safer, but on the other hand, this Colossal for 5 seems like a great
No.
idea.
No, you
That
are...
was 100%
Yeah.
the right call.
Yes.
And it just won you the game. The
Yep.
fact that you had the Ram and and then you went into it and you went safe with another Hydrolodon. I love that play. I was like, she's gonna go Hydrolodon and then go into Shock Spitter. So it was 100% the right play, because in that matchup, you keep him off board, he can't do anything, and then you'll just eventually win because you have damage from hand.
The initial board the initial plays that happened from Smarms with the Trog and the breeder the poacher that brought up the worst possible option for Smarms in that case, which was the 3/4 the doe, set up nicely for you, Doc, if you would have had a little bit of a draw. But Smarms, 100%, like the pre-nerf Shock Spitter it was right to get all the shock spitters because that's how you won. Shock spitter is the finisher in this game. Shock spitter is that little dash of sugar around the rim of your drink. The right plays there are to get rams into rams and get that Hydrolodon down on 5 and just keep clearing. And then at the end, then you shock spitter over the top to get them finished. You made the absolute right plays right there.
Yep.
Yeah, I will say on Doc's behalf though, like that was the matchup I felt like, and I said before, it's like I think that was the matchup out of the 3 decks that Doc wanted to get with that Murloc Shaman.
That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, because it's like looking at the other decks, the Evolved Shaman's gonna have the Piranhas and the Null to like rush in and keep all those Murlocs off the board. And that aggro mage has a lot of early minions and those like arcane bolts and things like that that are just going to continue to keep those Murlocs off of the board. Hunter doesn't necessarily have all of that. It can be a little bit slow out the gate. So I definitely was like, this is the matchup that Doc wanted with that. It ended up, not really panning out for you there, Doc. Unfortunately, like you didn't get the early start that you were looking for. I know you were mulliganing for it, like but also, super hard. You're like, give me these things, and yeah, Smarms had the early rushers and the early answers for it as well.
I was gonna say if I hadn't had Ram, I would have been just dead because like I've played that. Yeah, I love Murloc Shaman. It's what I got closest to Legend with. And so, like, knowing that, it's like, I have to kill this. Otherwise, I am dead in, like, 3 seconds. So, I just got so lucky with that, like, rush being one of the first things that I had, combined with, like, being able to have the coin.
The only thing I didn't like about the Hunter that you brought was I like 2 Rams. Because I think that is such an underrated card, especially if you can ram into a ram, breeder into a ram, you can get so much value until you want to get a Hydrolodon. So, and I know you said you haven't had a whole lot of time to play and stuff like that, so you probably picked the first list that looked good or whatever. But I like having double ram in there. It feels really good.
Yeah, this is just one of the like I had a shock spitter like back before it got nerfed, and then like just changed a few of the things with it and ran with that because like I knew I was gonna have time to get super comfortable with anything terribly new, but so I really hadn't played it all of its pieces together. Maybe that second RAM is something that I'll add when I get more games with it, but luckily I always feel like this about Hunter, you can just like whatever chuck things out there and it's like, why is this so good? Why is this working so well? And I always feel like I'm getting kicked in the teeth because I play against so many Hunters with whatever I feel like I'm playing. I'm like, why can Hunter do like this? Like this is not fair. Permanent Hunter nerf all the time.
No, please.
But Doc, you're bored with Hunter.
I mean, yeah, but it's still one of my favorite classes.
What are your typical classes? Oh.
No, please, good.
Paladin, Hunter, Druid.
Okay. All right.
Like back in Barons, I had like a 70% win rate with aggro Druid over like 70, 80 games.
So Barons was when the freeze shaman was like a really big thing. I don't remember these things based on their names. Like
Freeze Shaman was Battle for Alterac Valley.
Thank you. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Because like I think there was a druid that I played against there, but I don't know what aggro druid. There was like the taunt.
Well, there was Anaconda Druid. Yeah, taunt Druid is aggro Druid.
Okay, cool.
For that meta, they're the same.
Yep.
All right, I'm learning.
I was a bit surprised nobody brought either Rogue or Pure Paladin. I thought that those would have been some...
I don't have the brain for Rogue. And then I really went back and forth on if I wanted to bring Pure Paladin or not, but I had more practice with Big Spell Mage, so that's why I brought that one.
So, and like I tend to play either Shaman or Mage. So like obviously with those doing okay, I was going to bring those things. I don't do Paladin. There's something about it I just don't vibe with. And like, I know Dragon Rider hates this the choices that I make. So I just don't vibe with it and therefore like can't play it. And then Rogue. So my brother's been playing like Hearthstone since 2014 or whenever it first released, and he does the Rogue where you play like a billion things, and I'm like, I cannot fathom that when I'm already going to be like stressed about other stuff. So like there was no way that I was going to be trying to do a million plays per second.
That's fair.
So what?
That's fair.
What is it against you have against the light? What don't you like about Paladin?
Bad vibes.
Okay.
She hasn't tried Mech Paladin yet. I think you would love Mech Paladin. If you like Murloc Shaman,
Okay.
I think for me, the Mech Paladin feels kind of similar. I will say I've been playing that on the Asia server. I totally took the same list that I had like from, 2 expansions ago, because that's when I played it last. And I mean, I've been playing like Silver, but it's been performing pretty well there. And I'm like, this is so fun. I think you would vibe with the Mech Paladin.
Okay, but I'm gonna have a really.
I've seen some.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kat.
I was gonna say I've seen people in Diamond playing Mech Paladin. So
yeah. They're my people.
And Pure Paladin's such a good deck too. It is fun. It's not. It doesn't feel as typical Paladin. I don't think it feels. It's very linear, but it's a lot of fun, I think, and especially when you can get those invitations going, and you can get like a Cragwog, get those invitations back, or like you get to a point, Smarms, where you play the I forget the 7/7. It gives you 3 invitations, and those 3 invitations are 3 random three random legendaries. So kind of at the turning point of the game, it's like a little bit of a jackpot. Like I don't know what I'm going to get. Is this going to win me the game, or is it going to just be, Sergeant Sally all over again? So,
But if I want to play like that, I'm gonna play a friendly match where me and one of my friends, we play as soon as you can the Fires of Zin something.
yep.
Zinashari, yeah.
And so like if I want a game like that, I have a means of playing a game like that where it's like it's no stress about like needing to win with this. That's the thing, is like I love the chaos, but I also love winning, it turns out. And so, when I'm like trying to climb, I don't want that like chaos to be a potential detriment. Like the chaos really works well for the decks that it's in with like the mage and the shaman, and it's always beneficial, or like 90% beneficial in both of those cases. Whereas like what you're talking about, it could be a negative thing, and I'm just not willing to risk it.
All right, so let's move on to the final matchup, which was a mage versus mage. You lost before that game started, Doc, because
Yeah, I did.
Smarms is the mage queen here. So there were some interesting plays that were made, and you guys made some. Both sides, I thought, made decisions that kind of surprised both of us. Like you, Doc, at one point you could have coined out your sorcerer, knowing that she had the seal of blood in hand. So at the very least, you would have had a 3-mana shard, Rune of the Archmage, the next turn. But you ended up pointing out your you ended up playing the, what do you call it, the 5/6s with taunt, I believe, or.
That turn I think was the one that drew the spell and gained armor. I can't remember the name of that one.
And going into that turns, Smarms, on the other side of that, you played all your spells and then played your the commander, which I thought you were going to hold on to the commander, so that way if he played his sorceress, you had no spells for him to take at that point because your hand was empty. And then you played it, and then you didn't cast all the little spells. So they were like, oh, she's playing it, but she's going to cast all the spells, but you didn't. But then you cast them the next turn, and then Doc had nothing to cast into. So it all worked out really well. But we were both like, we were all thinking about, hey, why did they do that?
I forgot about that until the next turn, in which case it's like, ah, shit, I can't have these hanging around, so we'll just get rid of them real quick. We're just gonna. So yeah, that was just a purely like forgetting what happens with Big Spell Mage. And
I minded that play a little bit less, just because you still had the death.
Yeah, you had drawn a Deathborn.
Deathborn. Yeah, so Yeah, so it was still there were still 6 costs in your hand, so you at least had one option that was not particularly bad. So I was like, it's fine, because you played you still had the frost. Uh, God, I was on fire naming cards earlier. The 0 mana
I have no idea what any name of the card.
Flurry.
flurry. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a flurry in your hand, but the board was already frozen. So I was like, I get it. So
And Doc, at the end there, you played the Arcane Guardians there, the 5/6s with taunt. Where I was kind of hoping you were going to play the Sorceress first, and then hopefully gain something to play that too, to have the 3 taunts, because she had a pretty good sized board kind of bearing down at you. But I think it wouldn't have
Like
mattered
playing
anyway.
my hero card Varden, or
No, the turn that you played your 5/6s, you could have played the Sorceress and hopefully gotten something that would have let you play both the 3/7 taunt and the card that gave you the 2 5/6s with taunt. But I don't think it would have mattered anyway. And Smarms, you set up for the Deathborn beautifully.
Yep.
And just that was the finishing blow.
What's the death? What does Deathborn?
it's the 6
2
mana,
2 damage.
Oh yeah,
summon
okay. Summon
skeletons.
skeletons. All right, and I missed.
Yeah.
Okay, I meant to I was debating on playing that little 2/2 guy and getting a Skelly boy, but then I'm like, is that stupid? And it turns out I should have done it that way. But you know what? Yeah, you live and you learn.
Yeah, Kat was pointing that out. Like, oh, she's gonna play the thing, get extra Deathborn, and then she's like, no, she's not. But it ended up being working out just fine.
Here's the thing: is I almost wasn't even gonna play it at the end of that turn, but it's it's better to have damage out on board. So I went through a lot of maybe this, and I ended up with the worst option. So it was real great.
If you're playing, if
I mean,
you're playing like a DH,
it's definitely worth.
yeah. If you're playing like a DH that's going to cast the Unleash Fell, it's better to hold on to something like that. But against what Doc was bringing, you made the right play there.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, it's tough. And those decks, I think specifically, at least for me, Big Spell Mage was, for me, one deck that was kind of really tricky to learn. Because you had to figure out those points where, when should I just jam the Sorceress? Or do I need to, hope that I'm getting good value and really paying attention to when my opponent has spells or could potentially be dumping spells? Do I care? Do I just need it for the taunt and, trading off the spell discount just a bonus? I don't know. That was tricky for me. I have an idea for a roundtable thing if we're done with this discussion though, before as a kind of closeout.
Sure. The one thing I want to say though on that, though, Smarms, you did a really good job. As soon as you get those coins from the mailbox answer in your hand, you were like, "Get these things out of my hand," and you cast them right away. And not everybody remembers to do that, so it was really well done. And when you go back to the VOD, we're just learning to cast, except for Dawn, who's the expert. But we're working on it. We're trying to make sure that we, try to get into the plays. So, thank you for giving us that opportunity. It was a lot of fun, and appreciate you guys being the guinea pigs for this experiment.
Yeah, it was a blast.
It was fun. It was slightly more stressful than I was expecting, but I did that to myself.
Well, and then a couple of people in the comments commented that, boy, Doc looks really stressed right now.
A little bit.
Some of those games, I think most people in that spot would have been pretty stressed. There were some situations that weren't great. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So thank you for doing that, and definitely hope that anybody listening to this as an audio podcast, please go watch the VOD as well. Check out those games. You can really get the visuals along with our conversation about it as well.
It was a good time, so I recommend it.
Okay. Well, now I'm kind of curious as kind of a wrap up. We talked at the beginning about how kind of both of our podcasts are really focused on improvement, growth, getting better at the game. So I would like to hear from everybody one thing that they feel has been very important as they have gotten better at the game, or like something that you've learned that's kind of stuck with you or that's made you a better player. So I would like to start with Doc.
I mean, I definitely didn't do it this series, but you don't have to play fast. You can play slow. Like granted, people don't like to rope, but the rope is there for a reason. You can take that entire time to think out your turn and then do your turn. Just don't be like bunny hopper and give yourself 0.1 second left before the rope explodes.
I don't know. I wouldn't mind being like Bunny Hopper.
Good one.
I mean, yeah, like it'd be nice.
Right. It's a good one. Good one. Smarms, how about you?
Honestly, this is going to be boring. I think one of the biggest things is making sure to pay attention to when I have lethal. That is like a huge thing because like when I was like first starting to learn to play, I never dealt with minions and always went phase, and therefore I died all the time. But then I overcorrected, only cleared things, and forgot to like look up and maybe see if I could, do the death that turn. That is like really, that's like sad that that's the biggest thing, is just like paying attention to when I can kill them. But it's honestly been such a huge factor in trying to get like better.
No, that is so important, because there's so many times where you get in your own head about, okay, I need to clear, and if you don't stop and just say, well, can I kill him this turn? And then you've cleared their board, and you're like, oh, wait a second, I had lethal if I would have just done this thing. That is a very important move. That's.
I mean, that should be asking when you open the beginning of your turn. The first thing you should ask yourself is, do I have lethal? And look, 100%. 100%. That should be the first thing you're asking yourself. Can I kill them? If not, what's my best course of action?
I need you to write me a checklist of like what I'm supposed to do every turn. And I promise you, I'm so good at following checklists. It's like unbelievable. And then like maybe I'll start to be closer to legend.
Meaty put something together I think it was Meaty. And this was like a couple years ago. It was like how you should be spending your turn. Like, and he had it broken down to the seconds of like, here's the first, 10 seconds. Here's what you should be doing. And here's what you should be doing this and this. And yeah. So Meaty put that together. We'll have to see if we can find it for you.
That'd be kind of fun. Maybe I'll stream a few games of trying to be like, and here's how I do it with the checklist versus non-checklist games.
All right. Good ones to start. Thank you. How about you, Tito?
Every turn, and I don't do, again, it's one of those, you don't always practice what you preach. But the games that you take, every turn, think about your board state, think about what's going on, and think, from here, how do I win? How do I lose? And the more you know the matchups, the more you learn these things, and it changes with the meta. And obviously, people can play things that'll come out of left field. But if, like in particular cases, what do I need to do to win? I need to swing with my weapon with the shock hunter, so I need to get rid of those freezy boys, stuff like that. When you think about how you want to get to your end state and how they want to get to their end state, it can inform the plays you make, and I think that's very important.
All right, Kat.
Mine's a little less about in-game, but maintaining, like, keeping off tilt. Like, that's, like, been one of the biggest things that's helped me is being able to calm down and stay off tilt and just focus on the game. I mean, one of the things that always calms me down was yes, that card was in their deck. It was a possibility. So, like, even if it's like 1 in 30 and it's the most perfect top deck, it was in their deck. It was possible. They could have done that. Move on to the next game. So, keeping yourself focused and being able to be like, yes, that's a possibility. That's a card in the game. That exists. That was a possibility. So, like, just stay off tilt.
Those are all really good. Thank you.
Dawn, you're not getting. Yes, you're not leaving. You got.
No. Oh, I definitely have one. I would say so. I've been playing since beta, which I actually started playing January of 2014. So it's been 9 years. And I didn't hit Legend, for the first couple of years that I played. And now I'm, I don't know, 40, 50 times Legend, something, I don't know. And one thing that I think has seriously helped me is kind of going on that same like mindset aspect, but always approaching the game as learning. You're always maybe learning a new deck or learning a new matchup. We have multiple expansions every year, so there's new cards. You gotta, you're always learning the new cards, or you're learning a new type of thing that's coming around. Shock Spitter Hunter. There's been a lot of discourse about that lately. People think, oh, that's such an easy deck to play. You just hit them with weapons and then play Shock Spitter. There's a little bit more to that deck. So like always taking like that learning approach and always saying, okay, what can I learn today? What am I going to be learning this month as I try to push for Legend? Or what will I learn next month when this new set comes out and I got to figure out a completely new meta? And I think just like taking that approach in general has helped me a lot, knowing that if you're learning, well, there's going to also be times where it's not going to go well. So you're always, you're going to end up with some losses or you're going to struggle sometimes. But if you continue learning, then like over the course of time, that growth will continue in an upward trend.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And also,
Perfect.
Yeah, very well said.
one other thing to add too, if you're playing a deck, if you're getting frustrated that you're getting beat by a deck over and over again, one, look at the stats at like what beats it if you really want to just beat it. But two, play the deck, because when you play the deck, you know how you win and you know how you lose. So when you learn that, then it becomes a little easier to beat it because you know how they lose.
For sure. 100%.
Any more topics for the round table, or do you want to wrap this up there, Don?
No. Yeah, I think we can wrap it up. Thank you everybody for doing this joint thing.
Oh, this is fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
thank
you.
you.
It's a good time.
Well, where can people find more about Bread and Butter and both of you?
Yeah, so you can find us on Twitter at Bread and Butter HS. We have an email that's bread n butter, the letter, hs@gmail.com. And you can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Doc McButt.
And you can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Tito Santana HS. Dawn, how about yourself?
For myself, you can find me on Twitter, DawnieDK, that's DAWNIEDK. Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, like all that good stuff. I'm going to be trying to push all that more. Dragon Rider TCCG. And how about you, Smarms?
So you can find me on both Twitter and Twitch at Send Me Your Arms.
And then you can find the show, Dr. 3, on Twitter at Dr3HS. You can email the show at Dr3HS@gmail.com. And as always, follow the top pinned tweet on our Twitter to join the Dr. 3 Discord. And then you can find myself on Twitter at alkaline_cat, KAT. And then Twitch is twitch.tv/alkalinecat.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, since we're all like a combined podcast, we don't have like a big thing. So I guess I would just like, goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
It was fun.
It was.
See you next time,
Thank
everybody.
you, everyone.
All right.